So what advice would you give for people who are in another subject area who are just now coming into computer science?
I think, first of all, like you're not alone. There are so many folks entering from all sorts of different areas. A colleague of mine who I really respect here in Tucson, he was a former English teacher and now he's teaching computer science. You have a background in music education and doing computer science. So it's that you're not alone. And because you're not alone, it's important to like find your community. And so whether that's through like a Facebook group somewhere, or whether that's on Twitter, or going through a professional development experience and then keeping in touch. It's like Scratch has meetups and Code.org has their forums and CS Awesome has their Google groups, like finding your group of how you want to keep in touch with people. And then just relying on those lived experiences of teachers in the classrooms. It's hard to find other like more professional resources. This was like a struggle I had going from a math teacher to a computer science teacher is resources for math teachers are very robust. It's the National Center for Teachers of Mathematics, NCTM, has a journal and they have conferences and they publish books and they do all these things. And it was very hard to find an equivalent thing for computer science. Recently, like CSTA has started to kind of fill that bubble and like offer resources and their conference is really awesome. But at the time, it was really hard to do that. I just had to find other teachers. That was like the number one thing.
Yeah, for me, there's this like approach of just grasping at whatever I could. So I'd find like random YouTubers who would talk through like a language or how to code something in particular. And like while I'd take a bath, I'd just like watch YouTube videos of people explaining how to code in a different language or IDE or whatever. And like that was one of my ways that I learned, or signing up for like Udemy course or some of the online free courses from like MIT, just things like that.
I think that's like a double-edged sword. And like back to your other question about like, people transferring from these other disciplines into computer science, the way that computer science has been traditionally taught for a long time is not the best way to teach like anything. So when I think about my experiences as a student in computer science at the college level, like it's all teacher-centered, it's all direct instruction, it's all these things that like don't translate very well to a high school classroom. But pedagogy in science, in math, and English, like those types of strategies that you learn in these other disciplines, like you got to hold on to those. You got to figure out a way to translate those into computer science, which I think is like the really interesting question. Like you can give general advice of think pair share is a teaching strategy that works really well with students. A jigsaw works really well with students. Things that you've done before, your grading style in your previous classes. But then how does that map onto a computer science classroom is something that's hard to think about. And the struggle is that when you look at other folks who may have found success in teaching computer science, it's in environments that don't map into like the high school classroom. Like something that's a tension for me is that a lot of computer science research happens at SIGSI and it happens around like university classrooms, which are very different than like K-12 classrooms. And so translating some of that research like doesn't always work. I mean, frankly, like the students that you get as you do those research studies are not representative of the students that I have in my classroom. Like there's gender imbalances, there's racial and ethnic imbalances, like just a lot of those things don't translate. And so you really just have to kind of like trust your instincts from those previous pedagogical experiences, like your role in leading discussions and figuring out how to put that into the computer science world. Because if you just trust like, the old professors of ways it's been done before, you're just going to lecture the whole time. Your kids will be bored.
Yeah, that's really important.
This excerpt of the CSKA podcast is from episode number 47, which is titled From Matthew McMatherson to Cody McCoderson, an interview with Dan Schneider. You can listen to this full episode, as well as hundreds more, by searching for the CSK8 podcast on your favorite podcast app, or by going to jaredoleary.com.